Hello and welcome to Glenwood Lutheran Church. My name is Pastor Mark Manning. I want to thank you for joining us today in this presentation. It's less of a devotion this week and more of a thanking. In our worship service, we'll often include in our prayers of thanks those who are serving us in the military. And we also often add in those in emergency services. Well, Wednesday, September 11th, is also National Police Woman Day. And we have several women that are members of the police force in the surrounding towns here in Glenwood as well. And I want to talk a little bit about their contribution and some of the things that they faced. Now, obviously, women weren't always a part of police forces. Back in the mid 1800s, in 1854 in New York City, women were allowed to be a part of the police force, but really they were only there for the purpose of searching and kind of detaining for instance, in a jail setting, other women. And they were hired for that purpose, and really that purpose only. So they didn't act in the manner that we would consider to be a police officer. They acted more like a jailer, or some sort of functionary, or someone with some responsibilities within a police station or a jail. It wasn't until 1891 that the Chicago Police Department hired Marie Owens. And the reason why this was so significant is she had the power to detain and arrest people. She was the first female police officer that had this ability, this power and authority to do that, and it was not tied to her gender or not to her gender. They gave her that power to do that, and she did that. And then in 1910, following, Los Angeles Police Department hired Alice Wells. Now, the thing which is interesting about Alice Wells and other police departments had in the meanwhile been hiring more women in the capacity of police officers, but they were often stereotyped as kind of masculine and maybe not very bright, or they had a certain stereotype about them. And Alice Wells really broke all this. Alice Wells was a college graduate with a degree which also led her to be a social worker, and she wanted to be an acting police officer in the force. And she faced, of course, a lot of discrimination, a lot of harassment, because she was one of the first to have and to assume the role. And women police officers have faced much of this, not only from without in society, but also, sadly, from within, from other officers, from police departments, and from governments that did not feel that they were worthwhile, that did not value the services that they brought. Many different types of things that they faced. But finally, a huge breakthrough came in 1971. There was a class action lawsuit against a police department in California, which forced municipalities to recognize that police officers were a civil service classification. And as such, because they were a civil service classification, they were open to men and women on an equal basis. And this was huge in terms of recognizing not a sort of a segregated, separate classification for men and women, but both of them recognized and having pay grades that were not linked to their gender, and having advancement that was not linked to their gender, but linked to their terms of service, length of service, and these sorts of things. And so we give thanks for all the national police women, that are involved in policing in the United States, and especially to our local ones, and what they bring to our town, our society, and our lives individual. They are there to protect us and to serve us. And we give thanks for their occupation and for the way that they